Orders finally did. Well, if you're wondering what's happened, so am I.
What you guys have witnessed is something called broadcast signal intrusion. Broadcast signal intrusion is when somebody hijacks a signal, whether it's radio or TV, but they override the signal with either a message of their own or a little prank. Broadcast signal intrusion, or in this case radio jamming, was kind of started off during World War II when the Nazis tried to jam radio broadcasts from the BBC and other Allied stations. What the Nazis would do once they hijacked the BBC's radio station is that they would air Nazi propaganda. Over the years, there's been many broadcast signal intrusions, but there's a few notable ones that we are going to talk about while we talk about broadcast signal intrusion. The first notable case of broadcast signal intrusion to a television standard was the Verlion incident in 1977. On November 26, 1977, at 5:10 p.m., a channel named Southern Television was hijacked in what is now known as the very first recorded incident of broadcast signal intrusion. The hijacking was audio only, and the hijackers have not been found since.
The Rhodesian nationalist leader, Bishop Abel Muzorewa, has accepted Mr. Smith's offer to negotiate an internal settlement based on one man, one vote. But, he says, there are conditions. These include stopping the execution of all captured prisoners of war, allowing Giro to take part in negotiations, being arrested. In Australia, Mr. Kerry Packer's cricketers are still pleading to yesterday's High Court decision, which lifted the ban on them playing in Test matches.
This is the voice of Omar, representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command, speaking to you. For many years you have seen us as lights in the skies. We speak to you now to service them as we have done to your brothers and sisters all over this, your planet Earth. We come to warn you of the destiny of your race and your world, so that you may communicate to your fellow beings the course you must take to avoid the disaster which threatens your world and the beings on other worlds around you. This is in order that you may share in great awakening as the planet passes into the new age of Aquarius. The new age will be a time of great peace and evolution for your race, but only your rulers are made aware.
The people in the local area of this TV station, which was all of southern England, were terrified and thought that this was a real alien speaking to them. Of course, nowadays no one would really believe that, unless they're conspiracists. The people involved with this broadcast signal intrusion so far have not been caught, and I really don't think it'll be easy to locate them now, even if they were still alive, which we don't. Although I would be wondering if the FCC would still like to talk to the people who were behind the Verlion incident, but probably not, since so much time has passed since the broadcast happened. This happened in 1977, so I don't think it'll be a big deal now. 5 years after this hijacking happened, Southern Television closed their doors and became something known as Television South. And that kinda ends the Verlion story there. After that little instance, there really hadn't been a notable hijacking in almost 9 years. However, on April 27th, 1986, that all changed when HBO was hijacked by someone known as Captain Midnight. John R. McDougal was a satellite-selling businessman who, as a second job, worked as a television engineer. He was ticked off at HBO because they were charging $12.95 a month, and it was also affecting his satellite business, so he wasn't too happy about that. He had noticed that his satellite he was using pointed to the East Coast feed of HBO. Now, before the infamous Captain Midnight incident, he did hijack HBO once, but it was only on air for a couple of seconds, and it was the color bar test pattern, but there were no words on it, and HBO really didn't investigate that because it was a common glitch, so they didn't investigate that. But exactly a week after that, he was ticked and angry at HBO about what they were doing. So what he did was, after a showing of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, he pointed his satellite toward the East Coast feed of HBO, where HBO started airing a movie called The Falcon and the Snowman. Within 2 minutes, Mr. Midnight, as I like to call him, hijacked the signal and telecasted for 5 minutes. The HBO engineers found out about this, and what they did was they tried to override the signal by increasing their watts from 125 to 2,000. But this was unsuccessful, and they shut it off after a minute and a half because it would damage the satellite, which left Captain Midnight being able to broadcast as long as he wanted. But 3 minutes after that whole ordeal, he powered down his satellite and the movie resumed. During all of this, Hughes Communications threatened to shut down HBO's satellite signal because they thought the hacker was a domestic terrorist, which is crazy. Mr. McDougal, however, was known for his curiosity to get the best of him. And what he did was he talked about this with his coworkers, which definitely made people suspicious because it happened during his shift. About 4 months after this happened, the FBI caught up with him and he was put on trial and was found guilty for illegal satellite operation and had to serve a year of probation and a $5,000 fine. Now, broadcast signal intrusion was only a misdemeanor at the time, but boy, it changed. It was also found out that McDougal had a chance to take over 3 other signals. If he would have operated his Telstar 301 satellite, turned at 6,065 megahertz, he could have been able to take over the network feed of CBS. Now, the second one, he could have taken over the foreign language feed of Voice of America if he was aiming his satellite 72 degrees west longitude. And if he had aimed his satellite 100 degrees west longitude, he would have jammed the signal of the U.S. Navy satellite, Fleet Satcom 1. So he was very lucky that he hijacked only HBO. Although I will say, it'd probably be more interesting than anything on HBO nowadays.
At the appropriate satellite and using HBO's published frequency, transmitted with more power than HBO, which overrode and replaced the HBO signal. HBO executives decided not to comment in front of news cameras because they don't want to project this as only an HBO problem. They say this is a relatively minor case of a new type of electronic jamming which could threaten several sectors of our society.
This is a problem involving vulnerability on the part of anyone who uses satellites for any kind of communication.
That includes banks with their financial transactions, telephone users, and the commercial TV networks with entertainment and news shows. The Federal Communications Commission is worried.
We take it very seriously. We would prosecute with whatever resources we have.
In a recent HBO movie, intruders broke in on a U.S. president to make a
After that, there really wasn't too much going on. Although September of 1987, some guy hijacked the Playboy channel and did something very similar to Captain Midnight, but instead of protesting the rates of HBO, he asked the viewers of Playboy to repent for their sins. The guy was put on a year of probation, but no footage of that hijacking is available, and probably it wouldn't be appropriate to use. But about 20 months after the Captain Midnight incident, and about 3 months after the incident I just talked about, a new incident happened, and this is probably one of the most mysterious hijackings, and probably one of my favorite hijackings to watch. It's the Max Headroom incident. For the people that aren't 80s kids, and the people who don't do research, or maybe for some sheltered viewers, I don't know. The Max Headroom was a huge character in the 80s, and he was a character created mainly for the purpose of selling New Coke. New Coke ended up being a huge disaster, but he was still the spokesman, and still got popularity, and even had a show or two. He is known for his stutter and robotic voice, which kind of makes him a staple of the 80s.
See, sweating? It's true. More people are, as we cocologists say, catching the wave. Catch it if you can. Catch the wave. Coke.
I bet Coca-Cola would like to forget about New Coke, don't you? Anyway, back on topic. It was November 22nd, 1987, at 9 p.m., WGN was doing their sportscast. And anyway, after one of the reporters was going on about how the Chicago Bears lost their game, Max Headroom struck. The first hijacking really just shows Max just moving around his shoulders. No audio was hijacked because they were unable to hijack the audio frequency at WGN. All the audio was just a bunch of buzzing noise. That's it. But Max Headroom does not end there. Oh no. 2 hours later, he hijacked a PBS station known as WTTW. He overrid the signal for Doctor Who, and this time, he had the visual and the audio output, so you could hear his sadistic little being.
That is stupid. You should talk often with the old ones of your tribe. That is the only way to learn.
I'll get you a hot drink, miss.
Oh, I've done some dry clothing.
He's a freaking nerd. Chicks worse than Jesus.
This incident right here lasted 90 seconds, and in fear of being tracked, probably, they gave WTTW their signal back. Unlike WGN, who actually was able to shut off the hijacking, WTTW couldn't do anything. All they could really do was watch in fear as their signals were being hijacked. Just like the Vrillon incident and unlike the Captain Midnight incident, the hijackers of this were never found, and I don't know if they would be found if the FCC would still like to talk to them. Although they might have a better chance since this was not 37 years ago. However, somebody on Reddit claimed to have seen or to know about who was behind the Max Headroom incident. It was proven true, but he did not reveal their full names. But it is said that the person who played Max Headroom had severe autism, which can be pretty obvious when watching this incident. I mean, look at the way he moves around the camera. After the Max Headroom incident, not too many hijackings had happened, or at least in the United States. Now, in other parts of the world, hijacking is more rampant, but nothing really too notable. After this incident, there were little to no hijackings. Honestly, the only other notable hijacking was when a frustrated Comcast employee replaced 10 seconds of the Super Bowl with hardcore porn. But that really isn't too notable. And that is probably said to be the last hijacking of the analog era.
Now it's time to go digital!
The digital era of television. Analog was officially phased out on June 12, 2009, and ever since then, digital has taken over. And now, it's extremely hard to hijack television, and even if you try, the FCC is going to find you in a flick of a snap. But it didn't stop this brand new incident. This incident is very interesting. This is known as the EAS Zombie Apocalypse Hoax. Now, some of you might have heard of this. This was fairly recent. This was around February 11th, 2013. On that date, 4 television stations, 2 in Michigan, 1 in Montana, and 1 in New Mexico were hijacked with a fake zombie EAS alert. At 2:33 p.m. on February 11th, 2013, an unknown hacker had gained access to the Emergency Alert System, or EAS, and sent out an EAS alert to KRTV, which was a Montana station, and they were airing the Steve Wilkos show at the time. Don't ask why, I don't know, but anyway, they sent out a hoax message, and it was this.
So you will if I tell you that all will change first, right? But if I show you, don't even talk to me, dude. But if I show you, I mean, it might take a month or 2, a couple months, you know? But if I show you...
Civil authorities in your area have reported that the bodies of the dead are rising from their graves and attacking the living. Follow the messages on screen that will be updated as information becomes available. Do not attempt to approach or apprehend these bodies as they are considered extremely dangerous.
Sadly, out of all of the 4 hijackings, this is the only footage I could find for any of them, and this is the Montana footage. There was footage for one of the Michigan hijackings, but it's since been removed for some reason. But the zombie EAS does not end there. WIZM FM radio, which was the #1 hit station in La Crosse, Wisconsin, decided to air the zombie EAS alert so that people could talk about it and all. Only problem is they screwed up pretty badly, and on their TV counterpart, they ended up airing the message of the zombie apocalypse on there.
Or apprehended bodies, they are considered extremely dangerous. This warning applies to all areas receiving this broadcast. Turn in to 9:20 a.m. to get updated information in the event that you are separated from your television or if electrical service is interrupted. Civil authorities in your area have reported that the bodies of the dead are rising from their graves and attacking the living. Follow the messages on screen that will be updated as information becomes available.
I mean, so that's somebody really had to know what they were doing to be able to hack into this
the TV station.
And they play it over the,
It's insane.
I mean,
first of all, just so you know, anytime there's an emergency broadcast alert, you heard the TV in the background, so it was going. That would never happen because what happens is it cuts out all. So the only thing you could hear clearly is the thing.
So they didn't technically really totally hack it.
Yeah, they must have gone over top of it. I don't know how they would do it, but I could imagine somebody that really thinks that's going to happen probably went berserk.
They will find these people, and these people will be in big trouble.
That's definitely a felony.
If they haven't already found them, I'm sure they probably already have. But
I just imagine if that were my neighbor, I'm guaranteed he would be
your neighbor who's a doomsday prepper.
He would be like, "That's it.
He's ready for the zombies."
I told you it was happening.
Yeah, that's all that I could find for this. But this did lead into something that would kind of solve the case. The hacker behind this, whose name really has not been revealed, was arrested and is currently serving jail time. It's also said that the zombie EAS apocalypse was inspired by anthrax. Thankfully not the disease, but the thrash metal band Anthrax. The Anthrax song that inspired the EAS zombie alert was the song Fight 'Em Till You Can't, which was on their album Worship Music. In the very beginning of the song, it has a very similar EAS. In fact, it's practically the exact same, except it didn't sound as much of an EAS. But still, the EAS zombie apocalypse that had happened copied the song word for word. And there really hasn't been an intrusion since then. So yeah. So far, the zombie EAS is the only digital hijacking that we've had. I wonder if there'll be any more. Probably not, since it's so hard to hijack into. But anyway, I hope you people enjoyed this little documentary. Goodbye for now.